How about Peter King? Let's go out to the Boxer and Gersten guest line. Odyssey NFL insider Peter King, and Insider Calls are brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Guys, how are you? I had a very enjoyable 4 days in California. Was at the game, hung around, did a little bit of reporting afterwards. It'll show up in my column this coming Monday. And spent some time with Brock Purdy after the game. And, you know, I try to explain, because obviously by the time the game kicks off, America is going to say, you know, so many people are going to say, who the heck is this guy? Nobody really knows who this guy is. But one of the things I get such a kick out of with Brock Purdy is that, you know, he is what I would call extremely humbly confident. And what I mean by that is that he's not going to say to anybody, hey, man, I'm really good. I can do this. I don't care what Ryan Clark says. I don't care what the Ringer says. I don't care what all of these Cam Newton. I don't care what anybody says. I am self-assured and confident enough in my ability that none of their opinions matter. There's only one person's opinion who matters, and that's Kyle Shanahan. And he knows right now, after 26 starts in the National Football League, he knows that Kyle Shanahan is extraordinarily confident in his ability to go out and play a good game against one of the best quarterbacks of all time Sunday in Las Vegas.
Well, Peter, what's interesting today, and I don't know if you've seen it or worked through it yet, but Jed York spoke to the media, and he's sharing these stories about this confidence in Purdy that you're talking about right now, that maybe it's been around a lot longer than we realize. Jed shared the story that Kyle came to him before last year's season and said, hey, Jed, we got to talk. I think our third-string quarterback is our best quarterback. Peter, when did you start hearing whispers? When was this becoming a thing?
I didn't hear anything about it until the game against Miami 14 months ago. I don't cover the 49ers granularly. I'm not Matt Barrows, Matt Mayoko, Mike Silver, Branch, any of these guys. I mean, I totally respect all of them a lot. Okay, but I'm not there. I'm not them. And quite honestly, I think there's a lot of people who love their third-string quarterback for various reasons. However, I will tell you this. One of the things you're going to read in my column on Monday is going to be about what happened on the third day of the draft in 2022. Now, you guys both probably understand that this draft choice, the 262nd pick in the draft, when you have the last pick in the draft, as a head coach, as a coaching staff, as a general manager, Kyle Shanahan, these coaches, John Lynch, they knew, you know why that pick is really important? Because you can sit around in the draft room at that moment and you can hear everybody's best argument for the guy they do not want to let go and risk losing because some other team in undrafted free agency after the draft is going to offer the guy $5,000 more than you do, and he's going to take that money, and he's going to go somewhere else. And I'm telling you this, Kyle Shanahan, in that period of time, 20, 25, 30 minutes when they were trying to decide what they were going to do, he said in that room, I love this quarterback. This is the guy I want to take. And so all of a sudden, a chorus of other coaches come up and say, oh, man, we need this linebacker. We need this receiver. This guy is going to help us. We got two quarterbacks already. You just traded 3 ones last year to pick Trey Lance. Who cares about a quarterback and if we lose him? It doesn't matter. But Kyle Shanahan, and And the management of this team made a decision that I'm telling you ticked off some people in that room when they took Brock Purdy, because nobody who has any idea about a quarterback from Iowa State. However, Kyle Shanahan knew one thing, and it was the most important thing, and it was the reason why he ended up taking Brock Purdy with the 262nd and final pick in the draft. And he knew that Brock Purdy was not going to sign with the 49ers in free agency. He knew it. So he said, if we want this guy, if I love him so much, we got to pick him. So they picked him. And obviously they lost out on a couple of guys who might have made their team, because every year there's one or two or three guys who is an undrafted rookie who comes in on all teams in the NFL and makes the team. But I think probably the coaches who are arguing against that are pretty happy this evening that Kyle Shanahan got his back up and said, hey, we're taking Brock Purdy.
Does this now change the way teams look at not only the top of the draft, but the bottom? Because I'm looking at that very draft, and I see Kansas City 11 picks earlier taking a running back out of Rutgers, Isaiah Pacheco, in the 7th round. Do teams now start to look at the draft almost in an inverted fashion where the late picks are almost more valuable than the top-end picks?
One of the reasons why the late picks have become so valuable is that you're able to manage your cap for 3 or 4 years with an absolutely low salary guy. And if you have confidence that he's going to make your team. And look, if Brock Purdy just turned out to be the 51st guy on the roster for the last 2 years with very little prospect to be any more than that next year, that's okay. Because it's that, if you budget, let's just say, $800,000 a year or $900,000 a year for your number 3 quarterback, but you have confidence in him and you really like him, that is a great investment. Because look, last year, let's just say that Jimmy Garoppolo is Brock Purdy and goes to Philadelphia and gets hurt. And let's just say that Josh Johnson is number 2 and he gets hurt. How confident do you think Kyle Shanahan would have been in putting Brock Purdy, an absolute nobody, in that game? I can tell you, he'd been a lot more confident than what he had to do in that game at Philadelphia last year. And if I could just say one more thing, I don't mean to be, dominating this conversation. I know I don't mean to hijack it.
No, go for it, Peter.
No, I really think what has happened with this draft choice and look, 2 years ago, I was in the Baltimore Ravens. You know, a lot of times in my career, I have tried to go to a team and be in their draft room in the first round just to see what happens. I saw Jerry Jones get extraordinarily pissed off at not being able to trade up to get Paxton Lynch in 2016.
Wow.
And I bet he's pretty happy now, even though Dak Prescott, you might just say, well, he's never going to win a Super Bowl. Well, geez, Dak Prescott is working at a 7-Eleven in Greeley, Colorado or something. And I'm exaggerating. I have no idea what he's doing. But anyway, so I think you really end up trying to do something on draft day that's going to be meaningful. So in April of 2022, I convinced the Ravens to let me in for the 4th round of the draft. Geez, you ask, why would I want to go in the 4th round of the draft? I wanted to go in the 4th round of the draft because the Baltimore Ravens had 6 4th-round draft choices, and their entire roster is made up of guys who are mid- and low-round picks, a lot of them who you just say, who's that? Who cares? And I will never forget in that year when they picked a guy named Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina at pick number 139. And the only reason they picked Isaiah Likely is because the Pittsburgh Steelers, the arch-rival Steelers, took a receiver from Memphis named Calvin Austin on the pick before. And the Ravens were dying to get Calvin Austin. And they settled for Isaiah Likely. So what does Isaiah Likely do? Over like the last 9 weeks of this season, he catches 7 touchdown passes when Mark Andrews gets hurt. So my point is, every draft pick matters. Every one. So that's the story.
Love it. Peter King with us here on Willard and Dibs. Insider calls are brought to you by Old Spice Gentleman's Blend Body Wash, providing exfoliation plus 24/7 moisturization because men have skin too. Peter, you called Brock, and I want to make sure that I have the recall correctly on this. You like humbly confident? Was that the phrase you used?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
How does that stack up to I go to the Super Bowl every year, which is what the other quarterback is going to be able to say in this one?
They're the same people, only very, very different in terms of, I asked Brock Purdy. Do you guys remember we talked about this after Brock Purdy's first extended action? Plays Miami, comes in for Garoppolo. Woe are the 49ers, and he comes in and he kicks rear end in that game. And after the game, I say to him, hey, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but your reward for this is your first start in the NFL next week is against Tom Brady. And his expression didn't change. He just said, oh, that's cool. He's been playing football longer than I've been alive. And so I can tell you that when I said to him Sunday night, hey, this is cool, you're going to play Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And he goes, he said, I love that guy. I watched him all throughout, late high school and college. I think he's fantastic. And he's got nothing but praise. And how could you have anything but praise for Patrick Mahomes? But the only reason I say that is that, he had almost the exact same reaction to playing Mahomes in the Super Bowl as he did in playing Brady in his first start. And I think what that means, and I think what people need to understand about this guy is that, it's like, remember that video 4, 5, 6 years ago, Honey Badger Don't Care?
Yeah.
And I think there were some stronger words in there than Honey Badger Don't Care. And everybody watched that. It got 80 jillion page views. But Brock Purdy is exactly like that. He doesn't care if he's playing Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Otto Graham. He doesn't care. That has nothing to do with what he has to do in this game. And he understands that. A lot of guys get caught up by doing whatever people do on social media these days and listening to people say, oh, my God, this guy doesn't belong on the same field as Mahomes. But the only thing that matters is there's going to be a play that's called into Brock Purdy's helmet 65 times a week from Sunday. And Brock Purdy's going to go to the line of scrimmage, or he's going to line up in shotgun, and he is going to take the snap, and he's going to execute the play. And he's not going to be concerned with the fact that there's 116 million people watching, that there will be people in 217 countries watching this game, that half the people in the country will be watching this because they want their 43 seconds of Taylor Swift. He doesn't care. Doesn't care. Exclamation point. Underline it. All he cares about is playing the game.
And is he able to do just that in large part because of what you detailed in your column, Peter, about what happened at halftime with just the calmness, the refueling, the rehydrating, and just the sense that everything was going to be okay? Does Brock Purdy kind of feed off the fact that he's surrounded by veterans?
Well, he feeds off the fact that he knows he's got a genius coach. He knows that he has the best. Look, I think in terms of depth, I think the Detroit Lions have the best skill players in football. However, in terms of the top 4 or 5, like the Lions might have 8, but the best 4 or 5, without any question, is the 49ers, and they will enter the Super Bowl healthy. So he understands when he comes into halftime, man, this sucks. We're down 17. But he in no way was that concerned. And you read that in my column this week in Football Morning America. I asked him, what was it like at halftime? And I'm telling you, if you could sit there and see it, you would say, my God, I love having this guy for our quarterback because he just doesn't care. He shrugged his shoulders slightly and said, in essence, nothing really different. Fred Warner said something, Kyle said something, but basically, Kyle just told us, here are the plays we're going to run coming out of halftime. We refueled, we had a little bit to eat, and we went out there, but nobody was thinking, oh my God, we're in trouble. And the reason is because he knows, look, if you're Brock Purdy, okay, and I think what I'm saying is correct, you know that you're going to get the ball 5 times in the second half. And look, if your defense stinks, that doesn't matter. Nothing you can do. You're going to lose 48-32 or whatever, But if your defense does its job, Brock Purdy is absolutely, totally confident that he's going to get 3 touchdowns and a field goal or 2, and they're going to win the game. And that's how he feels.
Peter, you mentioned that Brock can sit there and know that he's got a genius at head coach. I would imagine to a degree you feel that way about both sides. If you could pick one of these coaches to coach this game, who are you picking?
Well, can I tell you a story about Andy Reid?
Of course.
Okay, so I've covered Kansas City twice in the last 2.5 months, let's say. Okay, I covered them against the Patriots, and I covered them in Buffalo against the Bills in the playoffs. In both of those games, Andy Reid pulled an absolutely ridiculous rabbit out of his hat. Against the Patriots, their offense stunk, was playing awful. And Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, who is an absolute football nerd, pulled a play out of an old Ivy League football game, literally from the 40s, between Columbia and Penn. And he showed Andy Reid the formation. He showed Andy Reid the play. And Andy Reid said, oh, my God, that will work for us. And it was just a weird-looking play in which Patrick Mahomes lined up so low to the ground, he looked like he was 4 feet 3 inches tall. And it was just an odd play. The whole play from the start looked odd. However, it was a walk-in touchdown because the Patriots at the snap of the ball are looking around, having no idea what's going to happen. Similarly, against Buffalo, they had not run this play, the second touchdown pass to Travis Kelce, kind of a little flat screen pass to the left. They had not run this play in 7 years. The last time they ran it, Alex Smith threw a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. And you know why it reappeared in this game? Because Andy Reid said there's no coach in all of football who knows me better than Sean McDermott. He has studied everything that we do because he was on my staff. I know him. He's indefatigable. He works forever. So we need to come up with some stuff in this game plan. And he knew that Sean McDermott was not going to go back to 2016 to look at Kansas City film with Alex Smith playing football and throwing a little screen pass. He knows that they have never seen the formation that he threw at them, and that they threw a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce on. And that is why at the end of that game, I'm sitting with Andy Reid in his office, and Matt Nagy walks in, and he hugs Andy Reid so hard around the neck, I thought he was going to snap his vertebrae. You could just tell. These guys, man, we saw this. We practiced it. We executed it. Kelce begged us to use it. We used it. It worked. Hallelujah. We won a gigantic game because of that play. So, look, I know that Kyle's going to come up with one or two things in this game where you say, man, where'd that come from? But the guy on the other sideline is going to do exactly the same thing.
We always say the game's going to be won in the 40s. We never knew it would be the 1940s, Peter.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
So Peter, you're picking Andy. Is that what we got to there?
No, not necessarily. I think both of these guys are absolutely, totally on top of their game.
Yep.
It's just that I absolutely trust Shanahan. Totally. But I can't sit here and say that I think he's going to outcoach Andy Reid. Nor can I say that I think Andy Reid's going to outcoach him. I'll tell you the one little X factor in my mind in this game, okay? So the 49ers cannot play defense the way they played defense in the first half.
Sure.
You know, if they do, they're not going to win the game. I'm just telling you. It's not going to happen. They got to play better for 4 quarters on defense. And I'm sure Steve Wilkes knows. I'm sure Kyle knows. Because I'm just telling you, you are not getting away with anything against Mahomes. So I think that, and look, on the other side, oh my gosh, how about this Steve Spagnuolo? He's ridiculous.
Yep.
Now it's been 17 years, believe it or not. No, wait a minute. 17 years since he orchestrated a game plan to beat the 18-0 Patriots. And he coached great for the New York Giants that day. And I'll tell you what, he has not lost his fastball.
It's a high-level matchup, kind of like these conversations. Peter, we can't wait to do it again next week and dive even further into the matchup. Thank you so much.
All the best, guys. Thank you.
There it is. That was Odyssey NFL insider Peter King. Insider calls are brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin, too.